I unlocked the door to my apartment, the familiar scent of vanilla and lavender fabric softener washing over me like a warm hug. Home. After 3 weeks away for a work conference, all I'd wanted was this moment, my space, my sanctuary, my little corner of calm in this chaotic city. "Sid, you're back!" Michaela's voice rang from the kitchen, followed by the soft padding of sock-covered feet on hardwood. I was about to order dinner. Starving? God, yes. I dropped my suitcase by the door, rolling my shoulders to release the tension of travel. I could eat a horse. Michaela appeared in the doorway, her blonde hair piled high in a messy bun, oversized sweater hanging off one shoulder. My roommate of 3 years and closest friend since college. The person who'd kept our apartment alive while I was gone. "I got your favourite wine," she sing-songed, disappearing back toward the kitchen. "And Blair's coming over later. She wants all the conference dirt." I smiled, trailing her through our apartment. Everything was exactly as I'd left it. The mismatched furniture we'd collected from thrift stores, the gallery wall of concert tickets and travel photos, the permanent dent in our couch from countless movie nights. "You're suspiciously chipper," I called after her, dropping onto a bar stool at our kitchen island. "What happened while I was gone? Did you finally get that promotion?" Michaela turned, 2 glasses of Cabernet in hand, her smile faltering just slightly. Something flickered behind her eyes, so quick I almost missed it. "Nothing major," she said, sliding a glass toward me. "Just glad you're home. Missed my partner in crime." I took a long sip, letting the wine warm me from the inside. Well, the conference was brutal. 16-hour days pitching to clients who couldn't tell a marketing strategy from a grocery list. "But you killed it, right? You always do." "I think so." My boss seemed impressed. I ran my finger along the edge of my glass, though I'm still not sure it was worth missing Thanksgiving with my family. Michaela's phone buzzed on the counter. She glanced at it, then flipped it face down with unusual quickness. "Everything okay?" I asked. "Just work stuff," she waved dismissively. "So tell me everything. Any conference hookups? Drunken embarrassments? Office gossip?" We fell into our familiar rhythm, laughing over wine as I recounted stories from my trip. But something felt off. Michaela kept checking her phone when she thought I wasn't looking. Her laughter seemed rehearsed, her questions automatic rather than engaged. When Blair arrived an hour later, the strange tension only intensified. Blair hugged me tight, her familiar perfume enveloping me. "Sydney, thank God you're back. I've been third-wheeling with this one for weeks," she said, nudging Michaela with her elbow. Michaela's laugh was too high, too sharp. "Third-wheeling?" I asked, looking between them. Blair's smile froze. "You know, with all her dates and stuff." "What dates?" I turned to Michaela, who was suddenly very interested in refilling her wineglass. "Just a few casual things," Michaela said lightly. "Nothing serious." Blair's eyes widened slightly, darting between us. "I thought you told her about—" "It's nothing," Michaela cut in. "Sydney just got home. Let's not bore her with my pathetic dating life." The conversation shifted, but the undercurrent remained. Something was happening that I wasn't privy to. I excused myself to unpack, needing a moment alone to shake the unsettled feeling crawling up my spine. In my bedroom, I dropped my suitcase on the bed and took a deep breath. Maybe I was overreacting. 3 weeks away had made me paranoid, that's all. I was tired from travel, imagining tension where there was none. I opened my closet to hang up my conference clothes and froze. Half the closet was empty. My winter sweaters, my favourite jeans, my collection of vintage concert t-shirts. Gone. Frowning, I checked my dresser drawers. Also half empty. Had Michaela moved my things? Was she using my closet while I was away? That's when I saw it. A white envelope on my nightstand, my name written in unfamiliar handwriting. I tore it open, my heart suddenly pounding. The first line made my blood run cold. Notice of lease termination and eviction. My eyes skimmed the legal jargon, catching phrases like 30 days notice and new tenant agreement. The date on the notice was from 2 weeks ago, while I was away. I stood there, letter trembling in my hand, as the apartment door opened and closed. Voices murmured, then footsteps approached my room. "Sydney?" Michaela called, knocking softly. Everything okay? I turned toward the door, the eviction notice clutched in my fist, as the truth crashed over me like ice water. You're kicking me out of our apartment? Michaela's face did something complicated. Surprise, guilt, then a forced neutrality that made my stomach turn. She pushed my door open wider, stepping into my half-empty room. I was going to tell you tonight, she said, her voice unnaturally calm. After you settled in. Tell me what? That you're replacing me? I held up the eviction notice, my hand shaking. While I was away at a work conference? What the actual fuck, Michaela? She sighed, leaning against my dresser like we were discussing a minor inconvenience. It's not personal, Sid. Not personal? My voice cracked. We've lived together for 3 years. We split the security deposit. We picked out this apartment together. Blair appeared in the doorway behind her, eyes wide. I should probably go. No, stay, I said, suddenly desperate not to be alone with Michaela. I'd love to hear if you knew about this too. Blair's silence was answer enough. Great. I laughed, the sound brittle even to my own ears. So everyone knew I was being kicked out except me. Look, things changed while you were gone, Michaela said, crossing her arms. My cousin Isabella needs a place to stay. She just moved to the city and... And what? I'm suddenly disposable. You couldn't have called me. I texted you about it. No, you didn't. I grabbed my phone, scrolling frantically through our messages. Nothing about eviction, nothing about moving out. Just normal roommate check-ins and cat memes. I definitely texted you, she insisted. You must have missed it with all your conference stuff. The lie was so blatant it took my breath away. 3 weeks of messages and not one mentioned I was being kicked out of my own home. Show me, I challenged. Show me the text where you told me I needed to find a new place to live. Michaela's fingers flew over her phone screen, scrolling up and down. I can't find it right now, but I definitely sent it. Blair shifted uncomfortably. Maybe we should all take a breath. I don't need a breath, I snapped. I need answers. When am I supposed to be out? Where am I supposed to go? The notice gives you 30 days, Michaela said, not meeting my eyes. But Isabella's lease ends next week, so if you could be out by then. Next week? The room spun. Are you fucking kidding me? It's December. Do you know how hard it is to find an apartment during the holidays? You can stay with your brother, can't you? Michaela suggested, as if Robert and I had spoken in years. As if she didn't know exactly why we didn't. I grabbed the nearest object, a coffee mug from my nightstand, and hurled it against the wall. It shattered, the sound sharp and satisfying. Blair flinched. Michaela didn't. Get out of my room, I said, my voice dangerously quiet. After they left, I sank onto my bed, mind racing. Where would I go? How would I afford a new security deposit? Why would Michaela do this? I called my boss, explaining through tears that I needed an emergency personal day tomorrow. Then I texted Blair, need to talk, just you. Meet me for coffee tomorrow? Her response came quickly. Of course, 10 a.m. at groundwork. Sleep evaded me. I scrolled through Michaela's social media looking for clues. Nothing seemed unusual until I reached posts from 2 weeks ago. Photos of her and a girl who looked strikingly similar to her, arranging furniture in what was unmistakably our living room. The caption read, "So excited to have my favourite cousin as my new roomie. Ours Isabella Ferguson. Family first." Comments flooded the post. OMG, your apartment is gorgeous. Cousin roomies are the best. What happened to Sydney? To that last comment, Michaela had replied, she decided to move on to bigger things. My throat closed up. She'd been planning this for weeks. While I was working 16-hour days, she was erasing me from our apartment, from her life. I threw my phone across the room. The next morning, I arrived at Groundwork Cafe early, eyes swollen, running on maybe 2 hours of sleep. Blair slid into the seat across from me, pushing over an extra coffee. I'm so sorry, Sid, she said immediately. I only found out last week when I stopped by and Isabella was there. Michaela told me you two had discussed it. She's lying. I wrapped my hands around the warm cup. She never said a word. Blair hesitated. There's something else you should know. My stomach dropped. What? Isabella isn't just staying temporarily. She's taking over your part of the lease, permanently. That's not possible. My name is on the lease. Blair's expression was pained. Not anymore. Michaela told the landlord you were moving out voluntarily. She forged your signature on the paperwork. The cafe noise faded to a dull roar in my ears. Forgery. That was illegal. That was criminal. How do you know this? I whispered. Isabella was drunk last weekend, bragging about how Michaela handled everything so she could move in. Blair leaned forward. Sid, this isn't just shitty roommate behavior. This is premeditated. And I think I know why. She pulled out her phone, opened Instagram, and slid it across the table. There was Michaela, arm around Isabella, standing in front of a sleek office building. The caption made my blood freeze, celebrating my cousin's new marketing director position at Vertex Media. So proud. Vertex Media, my company's biggest competitor, the one that had been trying to poach our clients for months. She didn't just want you out of the apartment, Blair said quietly. She wanted you distracted, homeless, vulnerable. I stared at the photo, something dark and unfamiliar uncurling inside me. She has no idea who she's messing with, I said. I spent the next 3 days in a cheap hotel, burning through my savings while my mind raced with possibilities. The betrayal wasn't just personal, it was professional, calculated. My homelessness wasn't collateral damage, it was the point. You need to tell your boss, Blair said over the phone, if Isabella's trying to steal clients. Not yet. I paced the cramped hotel room. I need proof first. Otherwise, I'm just the unstable employee making accusations because my roommate kicked me out. What I didn't tell Blair was that I'd already started gathering evidence. I'd created a fake email account and reached out to Isabella, posing as a potential client who'd heard great things about her work at Vertex. Her eager response included a portfolio featuring marketing strategies suspiciously similar to ones I'd developed. But I needed more. Something concrete that showed Michaela's involvement. I checked my watch. 2:15 p.m. Michaela would be at her yoga class until 4. I knew her schedule better than my own, a fact she was counting on to avoid me while I moved out. Too bad for her, I had no intention of moving out quietly. 20 minutes later, I stood outside our apartment door, key in hand. My heart hammered against my ribs as I listened for any sound inside. Silence. I slipped the key in, half expecting it wouldn't work, that she'd changed the locks already. It turned smoothly. The apartment looked different. My books were gone from the shelves, replaced by decorative objects I'd never seen. The throw blanket my grandmother had knitted, removed. The kitchen island where I'd sat just days ago was covered with unfamiliar makeup products and fashion magazines. It was like I'd never lived here. I moved quickly to Michaela's room, guilt and righteousness warring in my chest. This wasn't breaking in. My name was still on the lease for 27 more days. Still, my hands trembled as I eased her door open. Her room was its usual organized chaos. Clothes draped over chairs, jewelry scattered across her dresser. I headed straight for her laptop sitting open on her desk. Password protected, of course. I tried the usual. Her birthday, her cat's name, our apartment number. Nothing worked. Think, Sydney, I muttered. What had changed in her life recently? Isabella. I typed in Isabella and hit enter. Password incorrect. Isabella NYC. The screen unlocked. Amateur, I whispered, opening her email. I found what I needed in minutes. An email chain between Michaela and Isabella spanning months. They'd planned everything. Isabella would get hired at Vertex. Michaela would help her access my client information. And in return, Isabella would help Michaela land a job there too. My eviction was timed perfectly with my biggest client presentations, ensuring maximum disruption to my work. I forwarded the emails to myself, then took screenshots for good measure. As I was closing the laptop, a text notification popped up on Michaela's phone, which lay charging nearby. Isabella. Did Sydney move her stuff out yet? My furniture arrives tomorrow. My throat tightened. Tomorrow. They expected me gone by tomorrow. I grabbed the phone, my fingers flying across the screen. Michaela. Not yet. Having trouble finding a place. Might need another week. The response came immediately. Isabella. Are you kidding? I can't stay in this Airbnb any longer. Get her out. Michaela. I'll handle it. I set the phone down, a plan forming. I needed time to secure my job, find a new place, and make Michaela pay for what she'd done. And now I knew exactly how to buy that time. I left the apartment as quietly as I'd entered, stopping at a hardware store on the way back to my hotel. That evening, I called Blair. I need a favor, I said. Can I crash at your place for a few days? Of course, she said immediately. But what happened to staying at the hotel? Change of plans. I smiled at the new key in my hand, an exact copy of our apartment key. I'm going to make Michaela's life difficult. Sydney? Blair's voice held a warning. What are you planning? Nothing illegal. Not technically true, but close enough. Just buying myself some time. The next morning I waited until I knew Michaela would be at work. Then I returned to the apartment with a small bag of supplies. It took less than 20 minutes to complete my task, removing the pins from the hinges of my bedroom door, then carefully replacing the door so it looked untouched. I sent a text to Michaela. Coming by to get the last of my things this afternoon. Left my key on the counter. Her response was immediate and cold. Fine. Be out by 5. I left an old key on the counter, not the new copy I'd made, and walked out, smiling to myself. At 6:30 p.m., my phone rang. Michaela. What did you do to the door? She demanded, voice tight with anger. What door? I asked innocently. Your bedroom door. It won't open, and Isabella's stuff is being delivered tomorrow. That's strange, I said. Must be stuck. Old building, you know how it is. Fix it, she hissed. I don't live there anymore, remember? You kicked me out. Sydney. You know what's interesting, Michaela? I cut her off. I found those emails between you and Isabella, the ones about stealing my clients. My boss found them interesting too. Silence stretched between us. You're bluffing, she finally said, but uncertainty wavered in her voice. Am I? Check your sent folder. I heard her breathing quicken. What do you want? 1 month, I said. I stay in the apartment for 1 more month while I find a new place. My bedroom remains mine, and you and Isabella stay the hell away from my clients. Or what? Or those emails go to Vertex's HR department, the landlord, and maybe even a lawyer. Forgery is a crime, Michaela. More silence then. Fine, 1 month. I hung up and leaned back against Blair's couch, the adrenaline of confrontation fading into something quieter, more painful. I'd won this round, but the victory felt hollow. I'd trusted Michaela completely. We'd shared holidays, secrets, inside jokes. How had I missed the snake beneath the smile? My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. This is Isabella. You have no idea who you're dealing with. I stared at the message, something cold and determined settling in my chest. No, Isabella had it backwards. She had no idea who she was dealing with. Living with your enemies is a special kind of psychological torture. The apartment that had once been my sanctuary became a battleground of passive-aggressive notes, icy silences, and territorial disputes over the refrigerator. Isabella had moved in despite the bedroom door issue, sleeping on the living room couch and making sure I knew about her discomfort with loud sighs and pointed comments whenever I passed through. Michaela barely acknowledged my existence, communicating exclusively through terse text messages even when we were in the same room. Fine by me. I had bigger concerns than their comfort. I'd shown the incriminating emails to my boss, who'd immediately put me on a special project away from client-facing work for my protection. Translation. I was being sidelined until they determined whether I was a liability. It's just temporary, my boss had assured me. Legal needs to review everything. A week into this fragile truce, I sat at my desk at work, staring at my computer screen without seeing it. My phone buzzed with a text from Blair. Any progress on apartment hunting? I sighed. Not yet. Everything's either a closet or a palace, nothing in between. Keep looking. Living with those two can't be good for your mental health. She wasn't wrong. Every night in that apartment felt like sleeping with one eye open. But I wasn't ready to retreat. Not yet. I'll be fine, I texted back. Meeting with HR today about the emails. Hopefully they'll take action against Isabella. Good luck. Drinks after? Definitely. The HR meeting went exactly as I'd expected. Lots of concerned nods, careful note-taking, and zero concrete promises. We take these allegations very seriously, the HR director said, which I'd learned was corporate speak for, we're going to do nothing. By the time I met Blair at our favourite bar that evening, my frustration had crystallised into something harder, more determined. They're not going to do anything, I said, sliding into the booth across from her. Too messy, too complicated. They'd rather just keep me away from clients than risk a confrontation with Vertex. Blair pushed a gin and tonic toward me. I'm sorry, Sid. That's bullshit. It is what it is. I took a long sip. But I'm not giving up. What's your next move? I hesitated. Blair had been my rock through this nightmare, but even she might balk at what I was planning. I'm going to make Isabella mess up, I said carefully. Publicly, professionally. Blair's eyebrows rose. How exactly? I've been creating a fake client profile. High value, exactly the kind of account Isabella would want to land. I'm going to approach her as this client, get her to pitch me, and then... Sydney, Blair set her drink down. That sounds like entrapment. It's not entrapment if she's already planning to steal clients. I'm just giving her the opportunity to show her true colours. Blair studied my face. This isn't like you. The Sydney I know doesn't play these kinds of games. The Sydney you knew didn't have her life blown up by people she trusted. My voice came out sharper than intended. Besides, what choice do I have? HR won't help. I'm being pushed out at work. I need to protect myself. I get that, but do you? I cut her off. Because from where I'm sitting, it seems like everyone's telling me to just roll over and take it, find a new apartment, let Michaela and Isabella win. That's not what I'm saying. Then what are you saying? Blair reached across the table, her hand covering mine. I'm saying be careful. Don't become someone you'll hate just to get revenge. Her words hit harder than I wanted to admit. I pulled my hand away, suddenly needing space. I should go, I said, standing abruptly. Early meeting tomorrow. Sydney, wait. But I was already walking away, guilt and anger warring in my chest. The apartment was quiet when I got home. A note on the counter informed me that Michaela and Isabella were at a work event. Good. I needed the solitude. I opened my laptop and stared at the fake client profile I'd created. Blair's words echoed in my head. Don't become someone you'll hate. Was that what I was doing? My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Is this Sydney? It's Marshall from Groundwork Cafe. Blair gave me your number. Hope that's okay. I frowned, trying to place the name. Then it clicked. The barista who always remembered my order. The one with the kind eyes who'd slipped me an extra cookie last week when I'd looked particularly miserable. Yes, it's Sydney. Hi. I know this is out of the blue, but I was wondering if you'd like to grab dinner sometime. No pressure. I stared at the message, a strange feeling washing over me. In the midst of all this chaos and betrayal, here was something simple, something normal. I'd like that, I typed back before I could overthink it. His response came quickly. Great. How about tomorrow night? I know a great Thai place. Tomorrow works. I set my phone down, surprised by the small smile on my face. For a moment, I'd forgotten about Michaela, Isabella, the fake client profile, all of it. The front door opened and voices filled the apartment. Michaela and Isabella back from their event, laughing about something. The sound grated against my momentary peace. Oh, Michaela said, spotting me in the kitchen. You're here. I live here, I replied evenly. For 3 more weeks, anyway. Isabella smirked, dropping her designer bag on the counter. Not for long if you keep getting sidelined at work. Heard you're off the Westridge account. My blood went cold. How did she know that? Careful, Isabella, I said quietly. Corporate espionage is a serious offence. Is it espionage to hear office gossip? She shrugged. People talk, especially about employees who might not be around much longer. The implication was clear. They weren't just trying to take my home. They were actively working to get me fired. As they disappeared into Michaela's room, I turned back to my laptop, my resolve hardening. Blair's warning faded against the reality of what I was facing. The fake client profile stared back at me. I began to type, crafting an email to Isabella that would set my trap. Some lines, once crossed, can't be uncrossed. I was about to step over one. The Thai restaurant was tucked between a laundromat and a bookstore, easy to miss unless you knew it was there. Marshall waited outside, hands in his pockets, looking up and down the street for me. When our eyes met, his smile was immediate and warm. "You found it," he said, holding the door open. "Your directions were very specific," I replied, stepping inside. The restaurant was small but cozy, string lights crisscrossing the ceiling, the air heavy with spices. Over steaming bowls of curry, Marshall told me about his photography side hustle, his rescue dog, and his dream of opening his own cafe someday. I found myself laughing for the first time in weeks. It felt foreign, almost wrong, like I was betraying my own anger. "So what's your story?" he asked, refilling my water glass. "Blair mentioned you're going through some stuff, but she was pretty vague." I hesitated. The last thing I wanted was to dump my drama on this nice, normal guy. But something about his steady gaze made me want to be honest. "My roommate kicked me out while I was away on a business trip," I said. "And it turns out she and her cousin were plotting to sabotage my career." To his credit, Marshall didn't flinch. "That's intense. Are you okay?" "Not really," I admitted. "I'm still living there temporarily and it's a nightmare. But I'm handling it." "Handling it how?" I took a sip of water, avoiding his eyes. "Let's just say I'm not going down without a fight." Marshall nodded slowly. "Just be careful. Revenge has a way of consuming people. You sound like Blair." "Blair's smart," he said with a slight smile, "and she cares about you. A lot." Something in his tone made me look up. "Did she put you up to this? Asking me out?" "No," he said quickly. Then, more honestly, "Well, she mentioned you might need a distraction, but I've wanted to ask you out for months. Just never had the courage until she gave me your number." I wasn't sure how to feel about that, annoyed at Blair's interference or touched by her concern. Maybe both. "I'm glad you called," I said finally. I needed this more than I realized. Walking home later, I felt lighter somehow. For a few hours, I'd been just Sydney. Not the victim, not the avenger, just a woman on a date with a nice guy. It was a glimpse of what normal could feel like again. The feeling evaporated the moment I opened my apartment door. Isabella sat at the kitchen island, her laptop open, a smug smile playing on her lips as she looked up at me. "Fun date?" she asked. I ignored her, heading straight for my room. "Not so fast," she called after me. "We need to talk about this email I received today from Westridge Corp. Ring any bells?" I froze, my back to her. Westridge Corp was the fake company I'd created. "I have no idea what you're talking about," I said, turning slowly. Isabella's smile widened. "Really? Because it's strange that a potential client would reach out to me directly, using industry jargon that sounds suspiciously like your writing style." My heart pounded. "You're paranoid." "Am I?" She turned her laptop toward me. On the screen was my email, and next to it a marketing proposal I'd written months ago. The similarities in phrasing were unmistakable. "I'm not an idiot, Sydney," Isabella said, her voice hardening. "Did you really think I wouldn't recognize a trap when I saw one?" "I don't know what you're talking about," I repeated, but the words sounded hollow even to me. "Save it." She closed her laptop with a snap. "I've already forwarded this to HR at both our companies. Harassment, corporate sabotage, take your pick of what they'll call it." The floor seemed to tilt beneath me. "You're bluffing. Check your work email." Her smile was vicious now. "Oh wait, you can't. Your access has been temporarily suspended pending an investigation." I grabbed my phone, hands shaking as I opened my work email app. Access denied. I tried again. Same message. I started, but Isabella cut me off. You did this to yourself, she said, standing. You couldn't just walk away. You had to play games. You stole my home, I hissed. You're trying to steal my job. What was I supposed to do? Not this, she gestured to her laptop. Not something that could get you fired or worse. Like you care. I don't, she agreed. But Michaela might. She actually felt bad about all this, you know. Until you started your little revenge campaign. The mention of Michaela sent a fresh wave of anger through me. Where is she? Out. She doesn't know about this yet. Isabella picked up her phone. But she will soon. And then you'll be out of this apartment for good. I retreated to my room, locking the door behind me. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. I'd been so careful with that email, creating it from a new account, using a VPN. How had she connected it to me so easily? My phone buzzed with a text from Blair. How was the date? I couldn't even think about the date now. I messed up. Bad. Isabella caught me trying to trap her. She reported me to HR. Blair's response came immediately. Coming over. Don't do anything else. I paced my room, panic rising in my throat. If I lost my job over this, I'd have nothing. No home, no income, no way to fight back. A knock at my bedroom door made me jump. Sydney? It was Michaela's voice, quiet but firm. We need to talk. I opened the door, bracing for the worst. But Michaela's expression wasn't triumphant or angry. She looked tired. Isabella told me what happened, she said. I'm sure she did. This has gone too far. Michaela ran a hand through her hair. Both of us, we're acting crazy. Both of us? I laughed bitterly. I'm not the one who forged signatures and stole an apartment. No, you're just the one creating fake companies to entrap people. She sighed. Look, I got a call from our landlord today. The building's being sold. We're all getting eviction notices next week. I stared at her, certain this was another trick. What? It's true. 30-day notice. Everyone out. She met my eyes directly. So this whole fight, it's pointless now? Before I could respond, my phone rang. Unknown number. With a sense of dread, I answered. Is this Sydney? A man's voice, formal and cold. Yes. This is David from HR. I need you to come in tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. for a disciplinary meeting regarding some serious allegations that have been brought to our attention. As he continued outlining the charges against me, I looked at Michaela, still standing in my doorway. The irony wasn't lost on me. We were both about to lose this apartment, but only one of us was about to lose everything else too. Blair arrived 20 minutes later, bursting through the front door like a hurricane. She found me sitting on my bed, staring at the wall, Michaela's revelation about the building sale still ringing in my ears. What happened? Blair demanded, shutting my bedroom door behind her. Tell me everything. I recounted it all mechanically. The fake client email, Isabella catching me, the HR call. Blair listened without interrupting, her expression growing more troubled with each detail. This is bad, Sid, she said when I finished. Really bad. I know. No, I don't think you do. She sat beside me on the bed. Corporate entrapment isn't just grounds for firing, it could be legally actionable. Isabella could sue you. She won't, I said, though I wasn't sure why I felt so certain. This is about getting me fired, not dragging things out in court. And that's supposed to make you feel better? Blair shook her head. What were you thinking? I was thinking they were trying to destroy my life, my voice cracked. What would you have done? Blair was quiet for a moment. I would have walked away, found a new apartment, focused on my career, moved on. Easy to say when you're not the one it's happening to. Sydney, no. I stood up, suddenly unable to sit still. You don't get it. This isn't just about an apartment or a job. It's about the fact that someone I trusted completely betrayed me. Again. Blair's expression softened. This isn't about your brother, Sid. Isn't it? I laughed bitterly. Robert abandoned me when I needed him most. Michaela kicked me out when I was most vulnerable. The pattern's pretty clear. That's not fair to Robert. He was going through his own stuff. Don't defend him. The words came out sharper than I intended. Not now. Blair held up her hands in surrender. Okay, let's focus on the immediate problem. What are you going to say at this HR meeting tomorrow? I hadn't thought that far ahead. My mind was a storm of fear and anger, making it impossible to think strategically. I don't know, I admitted. Deny everything? With what evidence? If Isabella has those emails. My phone buzzed with a text. I expected Marshall checking in after our date. Instead, it was a number I hadn't seen in years. It's Robert, we need to talk. I'm in town. I stared at the screen, unable to process this new complication. My estranged brother reaching out now after years of silence. The timing was too bizarre. Who is it? Blair asked, noticing my expression. I handed her the phone wordlessly. Holy shit, she whispered. Are you going to respond? Before I could answer, another text came through. Michaela called me, said you're in trouble. Let me help. The betrayal hit like a physical blow. Michaela called him? Behind my back? Blair's eyes widened. Wait, they know each other? No, at least I didn't think so. My mind raced. How would she even have his number? A knock at my door interrupted us. Michaela stood there, her expression unreadable. Your brother's on his way over, she said without preamble. You had no right, I said, my voice shaking. No right to contact him. Someone had to, she replied. You're spiraling, Sydney. You need family right now. Family? I laughed, the sound harsh and brittle. You mean the brother who cut me off when our parents died? Who left me to handle everything alone while he disappeared to find himself? Michaela had the decency to look uncomfortable. He said it was complicated. How long have you been in touch with him? I demanded. She hesitated. A few months. He reached out looking for you but asked me not to tell you yet. He wanted to make things right in person. The room seemed to tilt. All this time, Michaela had been talking to Robert behind my back, while planning to kick me out, while conspiring with Isabella. Get out, I whispered. Sydney. Get out, I screamed, something breaking loose inside me. Both of you, get out! Blair touched my arm. I'm staying. No, I pulled away. I need to be alone. Please. After they left, I sat in the silence of my room trying to make sense of everything. Robert was coming here. After 5 years of nothing, he was walking back into my life at my lowest moment. Because Michaela called him. My phone buzzed again. Robert. Almost there. Please talk to me. I turned my phone off and curled up on my bed, feeling like that 16-year-old girl again, the one who stood at our parents' funeral while Robert, 21 and drowning in his own grief, told me he needed space. The one who handled the estate, the house sale, the insurance claims, all while finishing high school alone. The doorbell rang 30 minutes later. I heard murmured voices in the living room, Michaela letting Robert in. Then a knock at my bedroom door. Sid? His voice deeper than I remembered. It's me. I didn't answer. I know you're angry, he continued. You have every right to be, but I can help with this HR situation. I'm a lawyer now. That got my attention. I opened the door to find an older, more polished version of my brother. The wild hair was now neatly cut, the band t-shirts replaced by a button-down. But his eyes were the same. Our mother's eyes. A lawyer, I repeated flatly. Congratulations. Employment law, specifically. He shifted uncomfortably. Can I come in? I stepped aside, allowing him into my room. He looked around, taking in the half-packed boxes, the general disarray. Michaela told me what's been happening, he said. All of it. I'm sure she did. What she did was wrong, he said, surprising me. But this revenge plan, it's going to backfire, Sydney. Let me help you salvage your job, at least. Why now? I asked, the question that had burned in me for years. Why show up now? Robert's eyes met mine, filled with regret and something else, determination. Because I'm not making the same mistake twice, he said. I abandoned you once. I won't do it again. I wanted to scream at him, to throw him out like I had Michaela and Blair. but a small, desperate part of me recognized the lifeline he was offering. "The HR meeting is at 9 tomorrow," I said finally. "Don't be late." Robert and I arrived at my office building at 8:30 the next morning. I hadn't slept, my mind racing between the HR meeting, Robert's sudden reappearance, and Michaela's betrayal. My body felt hollow, running on nothing but anxiety and 3 cups of coffee. "Remember what we discussed," Robert said as we rode the elevator up. "Let me do most of the talking. Don't admit to anything." I nodded mechanically. We'd spent hours last night going over a strategy, deny the fake email, question the evidence, suggest Isabella had fabricated the whole thing out of professional jealousy. It felt wrong, more lies to cover lies. But I was desperate. The elevator doors opened to reveal Isabella standing in the lobby talking to my boss. They both turned as we approached, Isabella's expression shifting from confident to uncertain at the sight of Robert in his crisp suit, leather briefcase in hand. "Sydney," my boss said, his tone carefully neutral. "The meeting's in conference room B. Who's this?" "Robert Miller," my brother said, extending his hand. "Sydney's legal counsel." My boss's eyebrows shot up. "Legal counsel? This is just an internal review, not a court proceeding." "Nevertheless," Robert replied smoothly, "given the serious nature of the allegations, my sister has the right to representation." Isabella's smug smile had vanished completely. In the conference room, David from HR sat with another woman I didn't recognize. Files were spread before them, including printouts of what I assumed were the damning emails. "Before we begin," Robert said as soon as we sat down, "I'd like to address the fundamental conflict of interest here. Isabella Ferguson has a personal vendetta against my sister that extends beyond the workplace." "That's not true," Isabella interjected. Robert ignored her. "Ms. Ferguson is cousins with Sydney's roommate, who recently attempted to illegally evict Sydney from their shared apartment. We have evidence of forged documents and conspiracy to displace my client during her business trip." The HR representatives exchanged glances. "While that's concerning," David said carefully, "it doesn't address the allegations that Sydney created a fake company to entrap Ms. Ferguson." "About those allegations," Robert continued, "we've reviewed the emails in question. There's no evidence connecting them to my sister beyond Ms. Ferguson's speculation. In fact, we have reason to believe Ms. Ferguson fabricated this entire scenario to discredit Sydney professionally." My heart pounded as Robert laid out our counter-narrative that Isabella, desperate to eliminate competition, had created the fake email herself to frame me. It was bold, audacious, and completely dishonest. I watched Isabella's face flush with anger, saw my boss's furrowed brow as he tried to determine who was telling the truth. This wasn't justice. This was just more manipulation, more lies. "Stop," I said suddenly. Robert turned to me, warning in his eyes. "Sydney? No." I straightened in my chair, a strange calm washing over me. "I'm not doing this." I looked directly at David from HR. "I sent the email. I created the fake company. I was trying to catch Isabella stealing clients because I had evidence she and Michaela were conspiring against me." The room went silent. Robert closed his eyes briefly, defeat written across his face. "Sydney," my boss began, his tone grave, "that's a serious admission." "I know." My voice was steady now. "And I'll accept whatever consequences come with it. But I want everyone to know exactly what happened." I pulled out my phone and opened the email app. These are the original emails between Michaela and Isabella, planning to use my client information. This is the forged lease termination. This is evidence of them planning to disrupt my work during critical presentations. I laid it all out. Every manipulation, every betrayal, every step that had led me to this desperate act. When I finished, the room was silent again, but different this time. Heavier. "This doesn't excuse my actions," I said finally, "but it explains them. I was fighting to save my career, my home, my life." David cleared his throat. "We'll need to review all of this evidence." "Of course," I stood up. "In the meantime, I understand if you need to suspend me." my boss spoke up. Let's take a short break. Isabella, I'd like to speak with you privately. As Isabella followed my boss out, her face pale with fury, Robert turned to me. Why did you do that? He asked quietly. We could have won. No, I said. We could have escaped. It's not the same thing. We sat in silence until the door opened again. My boss returned alone. Isabella has been placed on administrative leave pending investigation, he said. The emails you provided are concerning, to say the least. However, he continued, his expression hardening, your actions were still inappropriate and potentially illegal. I nodded, accepting the inevitable. I'll be recommending a 2-week suspension without pay, he said, and probation for 6 months. Any further incidents will result in immediate termination. Relief washed over me so intensely I nearly collapsed. Thank you. Don't thank me yet, he warned. There will be a formal warning in your file, and you'll need to work with a different team for a while. Trust needs to be rebuilt. As we left the building, Robert put his hand on my shoulder. That was brave. Stupid, but brave. I couldn't keep lying, I said. It was destroying me from the inside out. What now? He asked. I checked my phone. A text from Michaela. We need to talk, face to face, tonight. Now, I said. I finished this. The apartment was quiet when I arrived that evening. Michaela sat alone at the kitchen island, 2 glasses of wine poured. No sign of Isabella. She's staying at a hotel, Michaela said, answering my unasked question. Probably for the best. I took the seat across from her but didn't touch the wine. You wanted to talk? So talk. I saw the emails you sent to HR, she said. All of them, including the ones between me and Isabella. And you're right. She met my eyes directly. What we did was wrong. All of it. The apartment, your job, everything. I waited, not trusting myself to speak. I was jealous, she continued, her voice smaller now. You were always the successful one, the one with the perfect career trajectory. When Isabella offered me a way into Vertex, I jumped at it. I didn't think about what it would do to you. You were my friend, I said, the words like glass in my throat. I trusted you. I know. She pushed her phone across the counter to me. On the screen was a video, Michaela looking directly at the camera. What's this? Press play. I hit the button and Michaela's voice filled the kitchen. My name is Michaela Norton, and I'm recording this confession voluntarily. I conspired with my cousin Isabella Ferguson to illegally evict my roommate Sydney Miller and undermine her professional reputation. I forged Sydney's signature on lease documents and planned to steal client information. The confession continued for 3 minutes, detailing everything they'd done. When it ended, I looked up at the real Michaela, speechless. It's yours, she said quietly, to use however you want. I've already sent a copy to your brother. Why? I managed finally. Because you told the truth when it would have been easier to lie. She stood up. And because some things can't be fixed with words alone. I stared at Michaela's phone, her confession still ringing in my ears. The power I'd been chasing for weeks now sat in my palm. Concrete evidence I could take to the landlord, to HR, maybe even to the police. What do you expect me to do with this? I asked. Michaela shrugged, vulnerability naked on her face. Whatever you need to, I just couldn't keep living with what we did. I set the phone down between us, suddenly exhausted. The vindication I'd imagined feeling in this moment was nowhere to be found. Instead, I felt hollow, scraped clean of the anger that had been fueling me. Why did you call Robert? I asked. The question had been burning in me since he appeared. Michaela's eyes dropped to her wine glass. Because I knew you wouldn't listen to me, and because he called looking for you months ago. What? Why? Your parents' house finally sold, she said quietly. He needed your signature on the paperwork. The house, our childhood home, sitting empty since our parents died. The last physical reminder of the family we'd once been. He could have called me himself, I said, the old hurt rising. He tried. You blocked his number, remember? After that Christmas fight? I had. 3 years ago, when his absence had become too painful to bear. I'd blocked his calls, his emails, erased him from my life the way he'd erased me from his. I should go, I said, standing abruptly. This was too much. Michaela's confession, Robert's reappearance, the house. I needed space to think. Sydney, wait. Michaela reached for my arm. There's something else you should know. I paused, bracing myself for another revelation. Isabella wasn't just trying to steal your clients, she said. She was trying to get you fired because of Marshall. Marshall? The barista? What does he have to do with anything? They dated last year. It ended badly. When she found out Blair set you two up. Michaela trailed off. I laughed, the sound sharp and disbelieving. So this whole nightmare, my apartment, my job, my life, was collateral damage in some twisted revenge plot against a guy I barely know? Partly, Michaela admitted. The job opportunity at Vertex was real, but Isabella made it personal when she found out about Marshall. I shook my head, processing this absurd new information. All this time I'd thought I was the target, that Michaela and Isabella had conspired specifically to hurt me. But I'd just been convenient, the roommate of the woman dating Isabella's ex, the colleague whose clients Isabella wanted. I need to go, I repeated, grabbing my jacket. Outside, the night air was cool against my flushed skin. I walked aimlessly, Michaela's confession video burning a hole in my pocket where I'd saved it to my phone. What would using it accomplish now? My job was secure, if tenuous. The apartment would be gone in weeks anyway. And revenge, the thing I'd craved so desperately, suddenly seemed pointless. My phone buzzed with a text from Robert. How did it go with Michaela? I hesitated, then called him instead of texting back. She gave me a recorded confession, I said when he answered. About everything. That's great, he said, sounding genuinely relieved. That should help with the landlord situation, at least until you find a new place. Is it true about the house? I asked abruptly. A pause. Yes. It finally sold. I've been trying to reach you about it for months. Why didn't you try harder? The question came out smaller than I intended. Robert was quiet for a long moment. Because I was ashamed, he finally said, of how I left you, of how I handled everything after Mom and Dad died. It was easier to tell myself you were better off without me than to face what I'd done. The honesty in his voice caught me off guard. I needed you, I said simply. I know. I'm sorry, Sid. I can't change the past, but I'm here now, if you'll let me be. I thought about the last few weeks, the betrayal, the anger, the desperate need for revenge that had nearly cost me everything. How much of my reaction had been about Michaela and Isabella, and how much had been the reopened wound of Robert's abandonment. The house money, I said suddenly. What happens to it? Half is yours, he said. It's in an escrow account waiting for you. Enough for a down payment on your own place if that's what you want. My own place. No roommates, no shared spaces, no vulnerability to someone else's whims. The thought was both liberating and lonely. I need to think, I told him, about everything. Take your time, he said. I'm not going anywhere this time. I ended the call and found myself walking toward Blair's apartment. She answered the door in pajamas, surprise turning to concern when she saw my face. What happened? She asked, pulling me inside. I told her everything, Michaela's confession, the revelation about Isabella and Marshall, the house sale, my conversation with Robert. So, what are you going to do? She asked when I finished. About the confession video? I pulled out my phone, staring at the file. One tap and I could send it to HR, to the landlord, post it online for everyone to see. The revenge I'd wanted served on a silver platter. Delete it, I said, surprising myself. Are you sure? After everything they did? I nodded, pressing delete before I could change my mind. Revenge was destroying me, making me someone I didn't recognize. And Robert? The house money. I don't know yet, I admitted, but I'm done letting the past control my future. Blair smiled, squeezing my hand. That sounds like the Sydney I know. Later that night, I sat on Blair's balcony staring at the city lights. My phone buzzed with a text from Marshall. Free for coffee tomorrow? I thought about Isabella, about her petty revenge that had spiraled into something so destructive, about how easily I'd fallen into the same trap, letting anger consume me. Sorry, not interested in being part of someone else's revenge story, I texted back. His response came quickly. What? I don't understand. Ask Isabella, I wrote, then set my phone aside. Tomorrow I would call Robert about the house money. I would start apartment hunting in earnest. I would rebuild what Michaela and Isabella had tried to destroy, not out of vengeance, but because it was mine to rebuild. The realization settled over me like a blanket. The opposite of betrayal isn't revenge. It's reclaiming what's yours. Your power, your peace, your future. I'd spent weeks trying to burn down what others had taken from me. Now it was time to build something new from the ashes, something that couldn't be so easily destroyed, something that was mine alone.